Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sun Up on Seven's Halloween special. It's Monday when I wish a happy Halloween to everybody. I hope that you go about and you enjoy yourself. Go and dress up as who is your favorite character. I'm dressing up today as Bruno Madrigal from the movie Encanto. I hope that you're enjoying it as much as I hope that you're going to enjoy our next conversation with author and educator David Nicolas Ruiz Puga. And we're going to be talking about his gem, which is Old Benque. If you're a Belizean, you know how dear Old Benque is to our heart. So today we're going to be talking about the book, some of the stories, and of course, let's get into that folklore culture because, hey, by all means, it's Halloween. Finados is coming up. So joining us via Zoom, we have Mr. David. How are you doing, sir? Good morning. Happy Halloween.
Hi, Kevin and Renata. It's a pleasure being here with you this morning, all the way from Benque.
Yes.
But I'm not able to be there with you, but with technology.
You could be anywhere you want to be. That's the awesome part about technology, right, Mr. David?
Right.
Definitely. But we thank you for accepting our invitation to join us and have this conversation. Like you said, Old Benque is a gem. It hits home for me from when I was younger. And it's still on the bookshelf where we often pick it up and read. But we would love to hear more about you and the inspiration and what Old Benque is about.
Well, Kevin, it's really a surprise, no? After 25 years plus, to find out that the book is still appreciated, it's still out there. And I remember a writer telling me that the proof of a book, of a literary piece, is basically to let it go, no? And time will tell, no? As Fidel Castro said, history should absolve you, and it's out there after 28 years, more or less, and it's kind of a favorite. I've written a number of books, 4 more, and Old Benque seems to still be a favorite among the younger generations. And I guess it's because of the personal touch when it comes to folklore, to Belizean folklore, which kind of transcends all literary styles, no, and genres. So it's there. It's in Spanish, and I've written another book, another collection of folklore of legends, tales in English to kind of satisfy those non-Spanish readers. But people keep telling me that I need to translate Old Benque.
Yes, I'm one of people, okay?
I really enjoy reading Old Benque in Spanish. I'm a Spanish speaker, that's my first language, but nevertheless, there's something about Spanish whenever you're reading that you just feel the passion and everything that comes with it. And especially, yes, escándalo. especially talking about the folklore. So let's talk a bit about the content, Mr. David. You talk about La Llorona, the classic Chepona in Finados. You're talking about the Duende. Is there do you have a favorite among these stories?
Do you have one?
Yeah, my favorite is Los Finados. No?
Mine too.
It's a story that kind of transcends all these cultural barriers, differences. And as a matter of fact, I came across that story also among Belize City Creoles, that it's a story, an event that happens somewhere in Yabra area. And it's interesting that that events, no tales that sometimes we hold on as our own, basically shared by many cultures throughout not only Belize but out there in the world. Because I've heard a version of this story happening in Guatemala as well. So here we have the typical person. I won't say woman or lady, but the person, the lady who kind of delves into people's lives And one day she has an encounter with the dead, the spirits of the animas, the souls that are coming from the underworld. And they give her a candle and tells, one of the spirits tells her that that the spirit will return for the candle the following day, which happens to be this November the 2nd. Uh-huh. So the whole story is basically that it builds the momentum to the point where what will the lady do when the spirits return?
Yes, I agree.
We take her along, so she's looking for a way to beat.
David, I think it's important to mention the name. I mean, Chepona. It's synonymous, as rightly mentioned. Somebody who's like very inquisitive and involved in people's lives. But Chepona is a classic, right? And if we're gonna tell the story, then we have to say, hey, Chepona, she had an encounter with the animas or the souls. What's funny, Ren, is that as David mentioned, so she has to find how to give back the candle to the souls. So she has to go and find a baby and take the baby to church, and then that's where the whole transaction happened. It's really, really a story that I love.
Really interesting, though.
Yes. I want to ask you, David, you're saying that this story has resonated in different spaces, but when you're writing this, was this something that you heard in Benque, or did somebody tell you about it? How did you go about coming up with this?
Yeah, all the stories are basically part of our folklore here in Benque, and I grew up in a culture of storytelling. No? Sadly enough, it's a practice that is vanishing throughout Belize, and these are stories that my grandparents, our neighbors, would tell us over and over. We never got tired of listening to. And in another book, Under the Yax'che, I captured most of these stories that were told to us. I mean, on the evenings when we used to sit around. Yes. And talk, listen to the elderly.
Yeah, especially like when there's like no electricity or there's like full moon.
Hear the kids there. Yes. And everything. But that's the thing I want to get to, right? Because I know when it comes to folklore and telling stories and all of this, it's like very interesting because people had their only version, they add a little song, take out a little something, spice it up and so. So tell us a little bit about, that process of trying to get the story to one, like, I know they may not have the same narrative, but how do you get the details in? Like, because hearing all these different stories, I'm sure maybe your grandma would tell it different from somebody else's grandma, but how do you get that to be like one cognitive, like cohesive story?
Well, I think that's where the imagination and creativity comes in, no? And I guess storytellers are very good at that. For instance, in Old Benque, there is the story of El Duende, Tata Duende, no? Yes. And this Old Benque started as a research for a course at university, and it kind of evolved into a collection of stories because I would come across all sorts of stories, and El Duende particularly, I kind of brought together all these different versions of encounters with El Duende in town, so that I kind of enmeshed it with the colonial background that Benque was living through in the 50s, in the 60s, for example. There is the event of the crowning of Queen Elizabeth in the 50s, when it was also an event in Benque, in Belize, British Honduras back then. So against that backset, I kind of brought together all these little stories and kind of connected them to portray an encounter with a relationship with a duenda, a female spirit.
Yes.
if that's possible,
Wenda.
with the child, Jose. No?
Yeah, that was, I mean, I really recommend everybody that's, you know, like hearing like this conversation to go and get yourself a copy of Old Benque. It's, again, it's a gem, it's a classic. And, you know, like whenever you hear the stories, like it hits home. Like you're right, it's whenever we talk about Belizean folklore, it transcends different ethnicities, and that's the beauty of it. What's also like very cool about having this conversation with you today, David, is that we're in the eve of Finados, which starts tomorrow and on November 2nd. Can you tell us a bit about how do you prepare for Finados? You're in Benque. How is the vibe right now in Benque? How are people preparing for this big festivity?
Well, to begin with, I mean, there are people that the Halloween culture is kind of, it's a competitor to Finados, no? But Finados is different. Finados, it coincides and it's part of our culture in the sense that we believe that the spiritual world runs parallelly, if not is one with our material world. And it's the time when we pay respect, reverence to those who have gone ahead of us. They're not dead, they're part of life. And whatever is offered on the tables, the food, the prayers should be as pure and as well prepared for as possible. So, like tomorrow is a feast of all saints, and we celebrate the lives of the younger ones, the children that have gone ahead, that have passed on, and therefore all the symbolism and everything is different with the colored altars, the light, the colored candles, the sweets, and that are prepared, the food that is set. No prayers are said because they are children, they're innocent. So the altars are placed very early in the morning, say at 5. Then on the second, which is the Feast of All Souls, Finados, that's when we celebrate the animas of the animas, the souls that are being received by us of the older people that have passed on and returned, no? And the food again is different. It's the corn-based boyos, the ishpasha, which is the porridge, the puddings, what we call horneados del shish, of the residue of the ground corn. The candles are black, not because of any magic, but because it has to be wax. No, we don't use paraffin candles because the paraffin leaves behind a residue. The wax consumes. No, and Kevin and Renata, you know, in the olden times, the chicletas would pour the candles, and there's still some specifics to the whole process because the candles should not be melted during the day. It has to be in the silence in the early hours of the morning.
Yes.
You should refrain from using the toilet. If you're a man, in the olden days, chicleros, they were to abstain from sleeping with their wives, because of the purity of the offerings, no?
Yeah, you know, David, as you're mentioning this, I recall some stuff that my grandmother would share with us, which is like, you know, after 6 p.m., like you're not supposed to be cleaning your house, like your house is supposed to be cleaned before. You're not supposed to be washing your dishes after 6 p.m.
Exactly.
You know, like, so there's like particularities that happen on November 1st and 2nd, but we follow it throughout the month as well.
Yeah, and Kevin, you know, it was a practice, and I still think some people do it in homes. The elderly sits at the very end of the prayers and begins to give the advices of the animals that are going back. And also the most elderly person would start giving those consejos, not the advice. Children should not do this. The candles should not be blown with your no se apagan con la boca. They should be blown.
Yeah.
You should out it with your fingers, because with the mouth you blaspheme, you say bad words. No, so all of the whole sense of
the purity behind the tradition, right? I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, and I love the fact that that you're reminding us or educating some folks about the culture of Finados, David, and you know the value of connecting with our loved ones that have passed away.
And also just passing on the knowledge too as well, because that's the conversation that you have with your grandparents, and you're able to understand more. So it's even a bonding experience, you know, where kids can be able to say, oh, explain why, and let's learn a little bit more together about heritage, about why we do the things that we do. I know as we're wrapping up this segment, Mr. David, there is another book that you have too as well that talks La Vista, and I can't say this one, under the Yax'che tree. So we also have that too, where we're premiering, we're showing right now on the screen. Tell people where they can be able to find this. I know this talks about the different legends and tales and so forth in Western Belize. Where can people find these books in case they want to be able to get a copy? I understand this one is the one that has the English translation.
Yeah.
So we can be able to read and understand for our English speakers out there.
Yeah. Renata, one of the atrocities that has been experienced in Belize is the closure of bookstores. I remember we've seen better days with, I recall Holy Redeemer, the bookstore, Mr. Craig, Angelos Press. I mean, lately the bookstore, the Musa's bookstore,
the Image Factory.
Image Factory, yeah. I mean, it's very disappointing, no, for Belize in general, because and with the coming of the Facebook and social media, it has led itself to a very superficial reading, no, non-analytical. So Old Benque was published by Kubola Productions. So their outlets are basically the gift shops and I guess Brody's. You may find Old Benque.
Can they also contact you too as well? So I'm guessing they can be able to contact you directly, so they don't have to go through the stress of maybe going to this bookstore, gift store, whatever it is, and it's not there. So if you wouldn't mind providing your contact information so someone could directly reach out and say, Mr. David, I love this segment. I want to get my copy of Old Benque and everything else. So could you provide that for us?
Okay, sure. They could call me at my number is 665-1934. That's WhatsApp. 665-1934, or simply email me, David_Ruiz@hotmail.com.
All right.
Perfect. And guys, you can get your copy. As you know, Old Benque is in Spanish, but hopefully we're going to be getting an English translation. But the other one that talks about the different legends and tales is in English too as well.
Right.
So shoot a message, shoot an email, and be able to learn a little bit more about culture, heritage, folklore. It's really exciting. You know, share with others too as well. It's going to be an experience where you can, if you're going anywhere, you can take that with you and say, hey, this is what happens here. This is what we know. These are the stories that were told or passed on from generation to generation, and just share in that beautiful exposure and experience to others out there. But thank you so much, Mr. David, for this incredible conversation, for the education, for these books, and for all that you're doing for our community. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Renata and Kevin. And remember, there's not only Old Benque and under the Yax'che, there are many, several pieces of folklore out there. The Pin Never Bend, it's a collection, it's a beautiful collection of Belizean folk tales from across all ethnic groups, no? So I challenge the younger generations to get access to this story, because that's where our identity lies. Halloween, I mean, it's kind of a foreign culture, and we need to explore our own to kind of build bonds and connections to whom we really are and be reconciled with our past.
Great. Thank you so much, David, and we wish you all the best today, and make the best of Finados. I'm sure your altar is going to be quite creative, and you're going to be making those connections there. So as we end this conversation, we're going to leave you with a clip from a performance in Benque done by the Youth Cultural Group. So we invite you to enjoy this, and we're going to go to a quick commercial break.
But when we are back, guys, we're going to be talking with Blue Martini about the business and upcoming events that are happening. And we have some demonstrations for Kevin and I to sample on your behalf, as always. And of course, guys, we still have more coming, because we have Alex and Denise Castillo that are going to go and talk about their amazing performance coming up right here on November 5th. So stay tuned for the exciting conversations, demonstrations, and all the good stuff happening this Monday morning. We'll be right back.
De un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Hermoso huipil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Hermoso huipil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Llorona, 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 de azul celeste. Ay de mí, llorona, llorona, de azul celeste. Me subí al pino más alto, llorona, para ver si te divisaba. Subí al pino más alto, llorona, para ver si te divisaba. Como el pino era tierno, llorona, al verte llorar, lloraba. Como el pino era tierno, llorona, al verte llorar, lloraba.